Well, g'day everyone. G'day Johnny. How are you?
Good, mate. How are you going?
I'm going all right. I was being a bit of a farmer today out on the tractor in the sunshine. We've had about 90 mil of rain in the last week, and the grass is growing like there's no tomorrow.
Wow, 90 mils.
The
Mm.
grass is growing like Albo's itinerary. Oh,
Very good fly points.
when my baby smiles at me, I go to Rio. Where is he? Rio or somewhere. Anyway, let's not get too carried away.
Yeah.
Um, Everyone, it's Friday, the 15th of November. You're going to be watching this, and it's great to have you with us. This is I got to tell you, I've been reading the notes on this interview tonight and looking at some video, and Michelle and I puddled up in no uncertain terms when we watched it. We're going to be discussing an issue with two incredible women tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to once again just put another nail in the coffin of the TGA and Australia's health bureaucracy and the legal system, which sadly has not covered itself in glory in all of this stuff. So we need to unpack this. And what we're talking about tonight is the pelvic mesh issue, another pharmaceutical blunder that's continuing to be perpetrated on the people of not only this country but around the world. And joining us tonight, we have Tracy Singleton, who is representing 1,400 members injured in Australia in the pelvic mesh scandal. And it is a scandal. It's there with infected bloods and vaccine injuries. Tracy, welcome to the program.
Thank you kindly, Woody.
Thanks for being with us. And we have Trish Sarah. Trish is a victim of this scandal. Her life has been turned inside out and upside down, as all the ladies who have been participating in this medical procedure have seem to have issues with. And we just really appreciate both of you for your courage in coming on tonight.
Thank you for having us.
So we're going to 7:30 report did a story on the issue around the compensation that you were meant to be getting from this from the court case with Johnson and Johnson. For those people who don't understand what's going on, the video will explain it pretty well. We're going to show you a 10-minute video of an interview or a story that was done by the 7:30 report. We thank the ABC for that. We've downloaded that from YouTube. We thank them for that. And for highlighting those issues. We hope one day soon that they'll go hard on the vaccine injured as well for them. But we'll show that video. But basically, Johnson and Johnson came up with a mesh. It's best described as like a plastic mesh, which is implanted into women who've had issues after childbirth. And it would appear that over time, this mesh goes brittle and it breaks and it's sharp and it causes internal damage and internal injuries that just seem to last on and on and on. And I hate to say this, everybody, but this product is still on the market and still being used after a Senate inquiry and after a court case that was won, which we're now about to hear about. So we need to put all this in context with all the other issues that are going on, the thalidomide issue that we had, where the government apologised, vaccine injured, infected bloods, and now this. So we'll share screen and we'll watch this 7:30 report story, and then we'll unpack this with the ladies. So allow me to share screen.
One day rolls into another. It's just like every day's the same. It's just the level of pain I'm going to be in.
In 2008, Trish, a medical receptionist, needed surgery to fix damage done during childbirth. Her surgeon implanted polypropylene mesh, but she had problems immediately.
There was all sorts of issues. It really felt like barbed wire. I was walking every step.
Trish has had a dozen surgeries but is still in chronic pain. She says she's used all her super just to survive.
And I'm struggling on a disability pension. So yeah, this is my life sentence.
Yeah. And I said, well, so we're getting conflicting information, and this is what's being...
Trish and her friends were among more than 10,000 women who were part of a class action which won a record settlement.
The majority of the public believe that we have been compensated. And that it couldn't be further from the truth.
The legal journey can be a long one.
No-win, no-fee law firm Shine ran the class action, promoted by Shine's ambassador, US advocate Erin Brockovich.
Shine will help you along the way.
In 2019, Shine won its case against pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson, which marketed mesh in Australia.
The ruling brings to an end a 7-year class action that became one of the largest of its kind in Australia.
Today's decision is a win for Australian women.
We were feeling highly emotional, elated, overwhelmed. We thought, we've won the case.
Serena Bretcher was one of the members of the class action who travelled from her home in Wodonga, Victoria, for the judgment.
Looking at it like that now, after so many years, it was a big day. It was a good day. It was.
The victory stands, girls. What class of champers? Yeah.
The three lead plaintiffs who brought the claim on behalf of all of the group members were awarded compensation ranging from $500,000 to more than $1 million each.
We felt, well, we obviously, common sense, we'd be getting something possibly similar. Okay, this is the notice of proposed settlement.
3 years later, after 2 failed appeal attempts by Johnson & Johnson, Shine pushed for a settlement of $300 million.
Amongst 15,000 women, 300 million, and within a short period of time, we realised we're not going to get much out of this at all, even for the ones that are most seriously affected. Shine's fees totalling $38 million, just over, for the past professional costs and disbursements.
Out of the $300 million, Shine was asking for $100 million in costs.
It's an obscene amount of money for fees to charge out of the $300 million. It was just obscene, and many other professionals said the same thing.
The numbers get a bit out of control in the class action context. The legal costs are very substantial, and therefore they can significantly erode the settlement value.
Barrister Peter Cashman, who was the king of class actions in the 90s, says class action costs can be excessive.
Well, it's not unusual for members of the senior bar to be billing fees in excess of $20,000 for a day's work.
Despite the objections of hundreds of group members, last year Federal Court Judge Michael Lee approved the settlement.
The proposed settlement sum is within the range of fair and reasonable outcomes, albeit at the lowest end of that scale. But I am troubled by this settlement.
He rejected Shine taking almost a third of the settlement as costs.
I'm not satisfied that the net sum left for group members will be sufficient if the deduction sought is made.
He did not approve the costs. That's one thing Justice Lee did correctly by the women.
Even though most of Shine's costs were denied, it still received $36 million from the settlement. Other lawyers and accountants appointed to administer the funds can also take more than $17 million. On top of that, Medicare, the NDIS and private health funds are entitled to be repaid, estimated to be another $26 million. That means the settlement is likely to be down by close to $80 million before the women receive any compensation. The fund administrators said they expect costs to third parties like Medicare and the NDIS to be significantly less than $26 million.
We feel betrayed, downplayed, belittled.
Despite these costs, Shine said, due to interest, the settlement now should be approaching $300 million. As in all class actions, Shine only signed an agreement about its costs with the lead plaintiffs. The group members didn't know how much Shine would take in costs when they joined the class action.
I think there's a need to sort of step back and have a micro look at the economics of the way in which legal practice is structured and the way in which they charge, because the costs are prohibitive.
Earlier this month, we invited members of the class action to our Sydney offices. It's been more than a year since the settlement.
Then Linda was entwined in the bowel and everything else.
Yeah, so they couldn't get it all.
Couldn't get it all.
I can't afford to have any surgery to fix it.
None of the women have received any money.
The cost of actually distributing the funds is chipping away at the actual amount when it should be going to the members. That's the thing that's so infuriating. And they seem to be able to get away with it.
I don't even know whether I am going to have enough money to get the medical care that I need probably for the next 20 years.
I don't know how they can look at themselves in the mirror and know the suffering of the women and feel justified in taking that amount of money from the settlement.
The fund administrators said they're assessing who's eligible and how much they'll receive, but that the process will not be completed for some time yet. What most of the women didn't know when Shine was urging them to settle was that it potentially had its own financial reasons for doing so. Shine had borrowed millions of dollars at an interest rate of 20% to fund the class action. It had already tried to claim the interest as costs from Johnson & Johnson, but the court had rejected it. Justice Lee questioned whether Shine had a conflict of interest in pushing for a settlement and trying to recoup the interest from the women instead.
The bill was $32 million. It reached $32 million, and they wanted the group members to bear the brunt of that cost, so we could pay that $32 million out of our settlement sum.
In the end, Justice Lee refused to approve the interest costs and expressed concern that Shine was unwilling to recognise how its commercial interests may have influenced its decisions.
Now that seems to me to create a real moral hazard, because the only way it can make a profit and secure a return to its shareholders is by settling rather than running the litigation.
So why do you think Shine wanted you to accept that settlement?
Because they financially needed to accept the settlement.
In a statement, Shine said if they hadn't settled, it would have increased costs, which would have potentially reduced the amount in group members' pockets or seen some group members receive nothing. At the same time that Shine was borrowing millions to fund the class action, it was paying out millions in dividends to shareholders.
The fact that you are paying dividends to non-parties, that is shareholders, out of money that could have otherwise been used to finance the litigation, and to that extent that conflict was obviously apparent.
More than 10,000 women are still waiting to find out how much they'll receive, if anything. Payments need to be finalised by 2027. By that time, the class action will have been going for 15 years.
Shine lawyers won, and the 3 lead applicants as well. 10,000, 15,000 other women that are group members. We're the losers. It's not fair.
Okay, ladies?
Yeah, it's hard to watch. The suffering is real for all of us through this. One of the points that wasn't mentioned in that story is with the money that was obtained for Shine lawyers, they were actually also paid $39 million directly from Johnson & Johnson to run that class action. So on top of the money mentioned, you know, I believe it's 38 million, they were also paid the 39 million directly from Johnson & Johnson. So in the end, they would have received 77 million out of obviously partly from Johnson and Johnson, and then or in total 77 million. Just as they rejected the 32 million that was the 20% Commonwealth Bank loan interest that had accrued through the life of the loan that we were not told about. We're just registrants, we're breadcrumbs in this. So they're not our lawyers, was their excuse. They were only the lawyers for the lead applicants, which is what happens in class actions. So anybody under the lead applicants are just registrants, they're not clients of the lawyer.
John. You're on mute, mate.
The situation with the lawyers, so Shine Lawyers was representing 3 lead applicants, and then all you guys fill in underneath. So what was the involvement with Shine Lawyers and Johnson and Johnson? Why were they paying them direct?
As far as I'm aware, it was awarded that needed to happen, but I can't assure that, so I'd most probably not want to say that. But they had paid that money directly to them to cover the costs, partial costs of running the class action.
So essentially, the 3 lead applicants received a fair sum, and everyone else, that is obviously 10,000 plus, have yet to receive anything.
Correct. In the Johnson and Johnson class action, we currently have approximately 16,700 registrants.
Well, I mean, that's less than $20,000 each, based on 300 million.
Yeah. Now, from what we understand, is the deal with the mesh settlement team is that by the end of this year, anybody in the Johnson and Johnson case who had proof of an eligible mesh implant and at least 1 noted complication would receive an interim payment of $4,000 by Christmas. In the recent federal court update, that is being delayed. We have unknown on when that will be, but at this stage, it is early next year for those people that have a noted complication. Unfortunately, medical gaslighting is extremely real. Usually when you have an implant and you start having an adverse event, you will potentially suffer pain. It may not be an erosion at first. You may suffer hip, groin, leg, buttock pain and go back to your urogynecologist that had implanted it. They will usually state that it potentially isn't that, and they will look into every other avenue on what it may be. So when you're looking at medical negligence, you only have a 3-year stipulation that you can go through to be able to sue them for medical negligence. But with the amount of medical gaslighting that goes on, many people aren't aware that it's their pelvic mesh implant or can't prove that it is in that time frame. So we do have some of the members, registrants of that class action that will stand to get absolutely nothing, because even though they were implanted with an eligible device within the time frame, their doctors, surgeons, specialists have not linked it on file, on record to pelvic mesh, and so they stand to get kicked out. They won't get 1 red cent from it. After the interim payment, Then for those that are left who haven't been kicked out, they will do individual assessments to determine how injured you are. Those assessments, they will determine what package they will offer you. We are unknown to how much any of that will be, and that does not get finalised until June 2027. So by then, this class action has run for 15 years.
Trish, I've got a letter here that was sent to me by you guys from Dr. Oliver Brown, who's an obstetrician and gynecologist, who wrote testifying that you were indeed badly injured by this product. He also refers to another couple of people who were involved in some kind of procedure in his under his umbrella that came. Was it from the pharmaceutical company? Were they from Johnson?
Yeah, it was from Johnson and Johnson.
So tell us
how
how were they involved in this procedure?
I'm not sure how I didn't even know that they were there, that they were going to be there. I had no knowledge of it until after, a couple of years after, actually. I'm only assuming because that was actually the second pro-lift surgery that had been done on me. The first one was in 2008, and then the second one was done in August 2008 because the first one just totally failed. It was causing heaps of pain and problems walking. And yeah, they were doing a couple of what Oliver called trim ups for the eroding mesh to come out. But then it was decided I was to go back into surgery and have a abdominal sacrocolopexy, which was using my own tissues to support my bladder. But he was talked out of that by these two reps. So whether they were there to follow through why the first one didn't work, I can't answer that.
Now Dr. Brown said that he'd been contemplating an abdominal sacrocolopexy, for your issues.
Yeah.
With your vault prolapse, which was an accepted gold standard procedure on this issue.
That's what I thought I was having done on that day.
But then these two other representatives from the pharmaceutical company had very strong opinions that the answer to your issues would be best sorted by posterior pro-lift mesh.
Yep.
Which they provided on the day for the operation. Because you're
against his better judgment, he allowed that to happen.
He said, because my experience with this operation was limited, that is with this mesh, Dr. Kaladelfos, who was one of the representatives there, was heavily involved in your surgery and the actual placement of the mesh. We now know that that particular mesh had caused many issues for many women, even when placed properly. Given the direct involvement of the agents of the Gynecare company, I would support Miss Sarah's claim for compensation very strongly, and I would see her claim as being one of the most significant that is out there as a whole. Signed, Dr. Oliver Brown. John, I'm gobsmacked that this stuff is going on now. Let me just ask you, Tracy. The TGA are still allowing this product to be used. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, there have been a couple that have been taken off. They have been listed as a class 3 medical device now, so that is a high risk. So there are certain avenues that they're supposed to do. There was extra packaging through the Senate inquiry. There was extra leaflets with information. They're now classed as a high risk device, but I can honestly say that of the new members and the new women since the Senate inquiry that have come through to our groups, not one of them has ever been told any of this information when they've had these put in them, implanted in them. Some people don't even know they're implanted. They may have due to a hysterectomy, and they, within the operation, they will determine that to ensure you don't get a prolapse later on in life, we'll put a reinforcing mesh in there. So many women have a hysterectomy and don't even know they have a mesh implant put in at that point. So it is highly concerning. Yeah.
John, what's happened to informed consent in this country?
Well, look, there's a few questions here, isn't there, Hoodie? I mean, there's a number of really valid ones. I mean, were you operated on in a private or public hospital, Trish?
Private.
Private hospital. So, I mean, that sort of changes the game a little bit as far as I'm concerned, because if you're in a public hospital and you sort of you have to go with the flow. You don't really get any choice, as much as they should be informing you about what's going on. I mean, if the doctor that you're allocated is the one that's allocated, that's how it works. If you're in a private facility and you're undertaking that really is a contract between you and the health provider and the facility you're going to and your health fund. I mean, to me, I mean, I can understand that things change during an operation and you may need to get different things out to do different things if what you perceive to be the path you were going to take in the operation wasn't an option when you got in the operating theatre, and you have to think quickly and make changes. But see, here this is completely different. I mean, we've got a case of a doctor operating sort of on behalf of the implant company that's sort of shipped in to come and assist. In fact, from the words of that doctor, essentially undertakes the procedure. Now, I mean, it's not to say that there was anything untoward done by the doctor in putting the device in, but I would have thought that in a public in a private system that you would be made aware of what you were having done. This just seems to be outrageous, and I mean this once again, Hoodie, stinks of when do people speak up about this stuff? I mean, here we're being notified that we're years into these events. They've identified that there's issues with this particular implant. They're still using it. I mean, when were these problems coming to fruition? Like, were doctors being made aware that there was issues, within days, weeks? And if that was the case, I mean, I'm sure that there would have been some sort of a reporting system to flag these as significant events, because I mean you wouldn't want to be say putting somebody on a drug and then having anaphylaxis occurring around Australia and nobody talking about it. And it would be the same with these implants. I mean, if there was reports that people were having issues and this was going on all over the place, you would think that, whoa, let's wait a minute here, let's halt, let's revisit it. Like with the mRNA vaccines, exactly what should have been done. There should have been a stop, a halt when the flags started to be raised, but clearly it hasn't happened here.
Trish, at any stage during the consultation prior to the operation, and Tracy's come back on now, she's just dropped off. At any stage during the consultation process, were you advised of this particular product and the possibility that it may be used?
Are we talking about the surgery where the Johnson & Johnson reps were involved?
Yeah.
It wasn't to be used. That was not the operation I signed up for. It was the abdominal sacrocoloplex that was to be done, and that wasn't done. The ProLift mesh was used instead.
I have to ask the question, John. What are those two other people doing in that operating theatre? Why are they even there?
Exactly.
Where is the TGA? Where's APRA in relation to this? I mean, look, this doctor's been very forthright, and you know, at the end of the day, there's obviously a lot more to this back of house story that we're not aware of. So I don't want to cast any dispersions on anyone here, but look, at the end of the day, somebody's got to be held to account. Now, Trish is saying that she's had a medical procedure performed on her that she didn't sign up for in a private hospital. Now, surely that's something that APRA must have a look at. The doctors signalled that in the letter that this went on, and good on him for being honest about what's occurred. But surely beyond the Johnson & Johnson case here, I mean, there surely has to be a case against the hospital for allowing this to happen.
I mean, to me, John, it's like getting on the Boeing 737 and having the cockpit door open in flight, and two pilots from Boeing, the manufacturer, come in and say, "Oh, we're going to take over now. We're going to do some certain things." I mean, there's no way that would happen.
No way.
I mean, it's just this whole thing is absolutely absurd, and the fact that this is still not getting the attention that it needs. Now, the three plaintiffs who got a fair and reasonable amount, well, it probably wasn't even fair and reasonable either compared to the suffering you're all going through. How has it been with the other ladies towards them? Do they all understand the process, or has there been any upset about all that?
Like, it's been quite varied, obviously. Obviously, those people received money for their implants, and they are so deserving of that. I'm going to say that. Obviously, they have been quite silenced. They're not allowed to speak out about this stuff, obviously. So they can't answer most probably questions that some may have. But they've done all they can. My personal opinion is they've done all that they could have. For us, we don't know what happened with the 300 million settlement. It may have been the only offer we would have received. So for them to be partly accepting that offer, we don't know anything from behind that. So obviously we're just the registrants. They have no control on what we get out of this. That's out of their control.
Trish, obviously this has had an incredible physical effect on your life.
Yes.
What about the personal impact on your life? I mean, obviously, you're watching the video that ABC did, and you trying to walk down the hallway to lay down on your bed to get some relief of pain. What other personal effects has this had on you, on relationships and that sort of thing?
Oh, the biggest part, my husband actually died in 2009. And prior to that, we could not be intimate. And that is the biggest thing that Johnson & Johnson has taken away from me, that I can't get that back. No amount of money is going to replace the fact that we could not even be intimate leading up to knowing to the fact that he was going to die. But I look at my whole family, the dynamics of the family has changed. I've changed. I am a shadow of the person that I used to be. And it's every day of my life, I say, I'm trying to fight this thing, to be strong, to get our voices out there, to be heard. Because this should not happen to another woman, to any person worldwide. It should have been totally banned off the market. It's a toxic product. But the effects of it is just, you know, I was 48 when I had that first lot of surgery, and I really pushed for year after year after year. I'm now 64, and I haven't had a life, and the future for me is not looking great. I can't enjoy anything. My family and my grandkids, I miss out on them. They've missed out on me. And just the basic things in life. You know, to be able to have a shower by yourself, to be able to cut your toenails. Yeah.
Tracy, what about you?
For me, I was 29 years old when they told me about pelvic mesh because I had a slight, tiny amount of leakage from my pregnancy. I just had my 30th birthday when they implanted me with it. So I was quite young. By the 6-week post-op, I'd already had an erosion, and they told me I had little pieces of the mesh coming through and that it was nothing to worry about. They could just trim them back and it would be fine. Unfortunately, that continued. And so over the next year and a half, 2 years, and I was public, so there's a long waiting list in a public hospital to actually be seen again by a gynecologist. But I had 4 erosions where it had cut through my vaginal wall, and it literally felt like barbed wire. We call that a cheese grater effect with every single step. It is like having a cheese grater in your groin. That was in 2006. So as the years went by, it was pure hell. The pain, I couldn't sit, and I either had to stand up or lay down for the least 10 years. I felt like somebody was tearing my right leg off the whole time. It took me until 2.5 years ago to, through the COVID times, I could withdraw money from my superannuation. So I withdrew all of my super, and I had to fly to Melbourne to have a removal because I couldn't tolerate it anymore. That through that removal, it was noted that through one of the, as we know now, partial removals or little snippets that they had removed, it had retracted with so much force because it was implanted so severely tight that it had taken out my nerve and had wrapped full thickness around my pubic ramus bone. So it was strangulating the nerve, and they had to try to dissect it away from that area. Unfortunately, I came out of that operation with more injuries, but I guess I expected it. We're never going to escape it. We're not. And I came out fully urinary incontinent when I walked in, with not much of a problem with that. So I've spent the last 2.5 years in diapers. So, yeah. And that procedure, I had to fly to Melbourne at that point. We didn't have a credentialed surgeon in South Australia. And with flights, accommodation, and procedure, I spent between $20,000 to $23,000 to have that done. To remove a mesh, it cost me nothing to have put in a public hospital.
Tracy, how much evidence was there around at the time you had your operation? I mean, was there reports that you've become aware of now that indicated that these things were bad and that the health people should have known?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know at that point, like many of us. I was told that they were just going to put this little bit of tape in. They didn't explain what it was, and that it was gold standard, and I would be right as rain, and everything would be fine. As time's gone by and we've joined groups and we're now running groups and stuff, I have found many people that were implanted around the same time. An admin of another support group, she actually was implanted by the same surgeon as me in the same state 6 months before, and she'd actually worked with the surgeon who had implanted it and had seen numerous women coming back complaining that they were having issues. So my surgeon was fully aware before implanting me that there were serious complications with these devices. Yeah.
Well, there needs to be a royal commission into this alone, doesn't there? I mean, this is completely mad. I mean, people are just unaware out there that this stuff's going on. I mean, I suppose a lot of the people that watch us will be very aware of it. But I mean, nobody in mainstream world is even aware that this sort of stuff is going on a daily basis. I mean, they're just the way people's lives are just absolutely ruined by very bad decisions in health systems because of the influence of big pharmaceutical companies. Look, I suppose hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I mean, in the first instance, if the surgeons were advised that this product was good, it was safe, the TGA said, yep, it's good to go, then you can't really blame them. But what worries me is that the flags start to appear, like we've had with the mRNA vaccines. We get to that point where enough people are putting their hand up and saying, well, I'm not right. And it's only been since I've had this done that I'm not right. And there seems to be a massive big problem in the health system where people are not willing to halt and pause. I mean, look, realistically, you could have lived with a little bit of incontinence. Like I'm sure that if you'd gone back 15 years now and you were given the choice, you'd never go down this road because you could have been told to hop on a trampoline once a day to tighten your pelvic floor muscles. Who knows what might have happened. I mean, but we're here now.
You said the words, John, if you were given a choice. This is the issue.
Right.
Yeah, in my situation, I'm not sure about Trish, but in mine, this was the first option. I was never told, and I was 30 years old. I was never told of any other thing. It was gold standard. It's great. It's going to fix you. You're going to be perfect. It was only slight leakage during intercourse that I was having. I did not have a huge problem. I just felt that it was a bit embarrassing. So I wanted to look into options for me. No options were given to me. This was the only option and it was glorified. Unfortunately, the terminology that they use is rather manipulating and they still use it today. So you will very commonly hear people say, oh, you don't have mesh, you have tape, or you have a sling, or you have the new mesh. Polypropylene mesh is damaging. It is toxic. It is not inert in the human body. It breaks down. It becomes brittle and it falls apart. Who really wants plastic? They go on about plastic all the time. I can't even get a plastic lid on my coffee, but you're more than happy to whack it in my vagina, quite honestly. And that's as brutal as I can be. But that's the issue with this. We have obviously not just the Johnson & Johnson class action. There are numerous class actions where we have women within our group suffering from different big pharma companies, obviously, but suffering the same severe debilitating injuries from it. So obviously we have the Johnson & Johnson one, which was launched in 2012. That's got approximately 16,700 registrants, due to be finalised June 2027, 15 years after it started. That's horrific. We have the Boston Scientific class action, mesh class action, that launched in 2021, approximately 2,800 registrants, set to finalise. They've combined that with ours. So June 2027. TFS IBS mesh class action launched in 2020. That is recently finalised over the last couple of months. You also have Astora, which was previously AMS, American Medical System. They launched in 2018, have approximately 1,200 registrants, although now being handled by the bankruptcy courts in America. No data finalisation known at this stage because AMS decided that they were going to break it down into divisions, and as soon as they caught wind that a class action on their devices was going to be done, that division filed bankruptcy. So these poor women are caught in a system where it's now being determined whether they will even get anything and how much they will get through a bankruptcy court in America. So, and no media has been, interested in taking on any stories from these other ones. So for the fairness of my members that are struggling just like us, I have to mention that. Yeah.
I mean, Mark Butler, where are you, mate? I mean, fair income. I mean, you politicians, you grubby politicians, take pensions for life, and I tell you what, you haven't done walked a day in these ladies' shoes. I mean, these ladies should be compensated by the federal government, irrespective of what goes on with Johnson and Johnson and all these other companies. I mean, that's besides the point. I mean, we've got a responsibility to fix what's wrong here. These guys should be compensated and put on pensions for life, so that they're not, they don't have to worry about that angle of it. I mean, you're never going to repair the pain and the suffering. I mean, it's dreadful, dreadful, dreadful stuff. But have a heart, Mark Butler, please.
Oh, no, he doesn't. He's already responded to our emails because we had a Senate inquiry. It's already been dealt with. He's not interested. No. That's Mark Butler. Unfortunately, John Scarrett, we all love John Scarrett. We had a pelvic mesh forum in Melbourne. I believe it was possibly in 2021. John Scarrett was there. We had a filming with a whole heap of women with their impact statements showing the severity of what they'd gone through. John Scarrett was caught with his mobile phone in his lap, texting people. He couldn't even acknowledge the suffering that this poor woman had gone through. He was too busy on his phone. He had no care in the world. Unfortunately, that got caught on camera, but we were horrified that he couldn't even give the time of day to listen to what suffering women were going through.
These people are grubs. These people are absolute grubs. The whole system, I mean, the health system, the judiciary, the whole legal system is corrupted to the core. I mean, the way the legal system does its business, and the fact that you've got to be a multi-millionaire to get any kind of justice in the court. The courts don't serve the everyman. They never have. They haven't well, they probably did years ago, but as it is now, it's just corporate big business. The whole thing is corporate big business. The whole system is totally corrupted from the top to the bottom, from one side to the other. And who are the people caught in the middle? The everyday people who do the voting and pay the taxes. It's an absolute bloody disgrace. It is an absolute disgrace. We had a Royal Commission for 3 tradies who died, John, in the home insulation scandal.
Right.
And, we'll have a Royal Commission for this. We'll have a referendum to divide the country and spend $500 million on that. We'll wake up one morning and Penny Wong's decided to give Ukraine $180 million over and above what we were designed to give them, just because she's had a whim that they need an extra $180 million. I mean, this stuff goes on and on and on. And
the parallels, Woody, with the blood scandal, with the mRNA vaccines, with the childhood vaccines. I mean, the parallels are there for everyone to see. And what else is out there that we don't know about? I mean, we only know about you guys because you've got in contact with us. But I'm sure there's other scandals that are yet to be revealed. I mean, this is dreadful what they've done to you guys, and I just can't believe that the health ministers around Australia would not have an immediate meeting to work out some way forward for you guys, because it's heartbreaking, and it's not it's un-Australian, Hoodie.
Look, the TGA are up to their neck in this because they approve the product. Now, if they're going to have a responsibility to approve products, now, John, when credible doctors and the science before it was censored was saying that, hang on, we've actually got a cure. We think we've got a cure for COVID, and it's ivermectin. The TGA bent over backwards to make ivermectin difficult to get. They bent over backwards to make it difficult to get. And it was the safest drug on the market at the time and still remains that way, and it's still effective. Then we went through the whole thing with hydroxychloroquine, and then we had the media pushing this thing that it's a horse dewormer. I mean, for goodness sake. And what did the TGA say about that, John? When the media were plastering this misinformation about one of the safest drugs in the world that has such a great plethora of uses to bring about real change in people's outcomes. Did the TGA come out and say, oh, no, the mainstream media have actually misinformed the people there? That's not exactly right. Did they come out and say, no, it's not a horse dewormer. It's actually, it's used for people and it's won a Nobel Prize? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And AHPRA, who deregistered doctors for writing scripts for ivermectin, when all this pelvic mesh and infected blood stuff's going on, and this stuff is still being used. And who is the overarching authority responsible for informed consent, voluntary informed consent? Who looks after that? Is that AHPRA? Is that the Australian Federal Health Department?
How can you have a finding in a class action against a product and then not have an immediate ban on the product? I mean, if it's so dangerous that you've got to compensate everyone to the tune of 300 million, well, what planet are these people on? I mean, look at the airbag stuff that happened with that drama. Everyone had to take their car back because they were worried about a 1 in 50, 100 million event of an airbag, deploying inappropriately, and rightly, they obviously did the right thing, but they go to that extent for such a minute risk. And here you've got a known risk. You know what's going on. You know these things are causing horrendous grief for people, but you still allow them to be used. I mean, surely the TGA and the AHPRA and whoever else is responsible should be monitoring what's been going on at the court and say, hang on, we've got a problem here.
The concern for our women is we have significant women that will never be able to have these removed. Even if you have them removed, depending on how long you've had it in for. Mine was in 4 pieces, so there's no guarantee that they got it all, although I was classified as having a full removal. Unfortunately, I'm going back for scans because I believe I have another erosion happening at the moment. So obviously there's still some in me. We've got women, Trish, I believe you're one of them, that can never have these removed. It's too highly dangerous because some of the women, it may be embedded in organs, it may be wrapped around bowels, bladders. It is too dangerous for their life to be able to be removed. So they remains in them for the rest of their life, destroying them further. That's horrific. The only winners in that is Big Pharma, because all they do as a doctor, obviously, there's not much you can do. They give them a whole heap of really strong medication to try to fix the problem. And that is where Big Pharma keep on getting more and more rich from this. And the lawyers,
Tracy, that a lot of these women are now, getting on in years, and they're not in the best of health because of what's happened. They've decreased mobility, and now they're an anaesthetic risk as well. So there'd be probably a reluctancy to operate in such they'd be very difficult operations. So you're taking a risk so it's that risk benefit analysis, isn't it? But it wasn't given to you guys, was it? prior.
It was just glorified. Unfortunately, that's what they do. They glorify it. They can implant these implants. They used to do, for my position, for stress urinary incontinence, they used to do a thing called a birch colpo suspension surgery initially. And then when mesh was invented, they found out that they could whack them in 15, 20 minutes, and get approximately $3,000 per pop. So, of course, it glorifies it because they can do more operations in a day and they can gain more money. Money seems to be the thing that they all seem to radiate to, and it's horrific. Unfortunately, so many people have suffered. We have recently had a new member put on who has come on to try to fight for her daughter. Her daughter was 37 when she passed away. We've lost, I believe, 4 or 5 members already this year. For various reasons, obviously, but they're never going to see justice. They're never going to get any form of justice. Even my beautiful Trish hasn't even been accepted yet to get the $4,000 interim payment. 4,000, all of her suffering that she has gone through, and my most severe women that have lost bladders, bowels, they don't deserve pittance. They don't even deserve to have had this happen to them. To be traumatized by the lies, the medical gaslighting, to watch other women going through this, you are constantly put in fight or flight mode. And it is so hard to listen to another story. Most of us never knew. I wasn't aware. I had an implant in 2006 and I blamed my own body because I thought I was the only person. I did not find out until 2017 that there were thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands globally suffering the exact same thing that I was suffering. That was the most crippling thing, to see how many people were suffering from this. We were all medically gaslighted every single day. Trying to trust another one is impossible.
You just raised a very good point there, Tracy. So, Johnson & Johnson, obviously being an American company, like these products would have been rolled out there first, I'd imagine, and there was likely a trail of destruction in America that you weren't aware of.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, this is global, Yeah. You have New Zealand, Ireland, America, Australia, the UK. There's class actions running everywhere.
Yeah. What sort of regulator have we got? I mean, they should automatically be fired, shouldn't they? I mean, if there's a class action against them that's been successful and they've allowed this product onto the market, the regulator's got to go, haven't they? What's the point of having them?
I would have thought so. That was my point earlier on. I mean, the fact that these people are still in there allowing these things to happen and making the decisions that they make, I mean, it just beggars belief. It absolutely beggars belief. And what about the colleges, the medical colleges, the Royal College of General Practitioners, the Royal College of Surgeons? Where are they? They're jumping up and down today, John, about a lack of saline availability in the country. And they're blaming the integrative medicine people for using saline to give vitamin C injections, and not injections, infusions, to cure hangovers. John, at what planet are these people on? People are taking vitamin C infusions to undo the damage, to try and rebuild their immune systems, because that's what they believe they have to do in order to overcome the vaccine injuries. Now, that treatment has been backed by Professor Ian Brighthope, 42 years an integrative specialist. I spoke to him today about it. He's appalled at the ABC story from the Royal College of General Practitioners. Professor Angus Dalgleish and Professor Paul Marrick both said vitamin C infusions and massive doses of vitamin D3 are essential to fight inflammation and even to fight cancer and the side effects of cancer. And you get the Royal College of General Practitioners coming out saying that we can't get saline because of this. Now, the question, of course, that we then have to ask is, saline is salt water, for goodness sake. Why aren't the TGA approving manufacturing of saline in this country? Why don't they turn the Moderna factories, the mRNA factories, into saline factories and start producing quality saline? But we don't do anything like that in this country. They made an excuse today that the Baxters, the main supplier of saline in the world, their factory was in North Carolina, was badly damaged in the hurricane. Now, what are we in Australia? What are we? Just a country of consumers? Don't we produce anything anymore?
Well, I mean, they're telling lies again because, I mean, they do, from what I understand, they do make saline in Australia at Toongabbie at Baxter. So I don't know what, you can't believe anything these people tell you, Woody. I mean, they're full of it.
The ABC a story yesterday too, commenting on the unusual occurrence of six. There have been 6 road fatalities, John, in the last week, based on medical incidents. Drivers having medical incidents that have brought 6 road fatalities on, and they're saying this is highly unusual. But the story doesn't go any further.
Yeah.
I wrote to Ramscog. I emailed them in relation to my injury with stress urinary incontinence mesh, and although being very apologetic, they stated that, oh, we're sorry to hear that you were injured by this, but it's very minority because it's only pelvic organ prolapse mesh that has been problematic. So we're sorry to hear that you had this issue, but SUI mesh isn't problematic. Most of our members, being the most common operation, significant of our members are injured by SUI mesh. Obviously, pelvic organ prolapse mesh has injured people very severely and is terrible. But we have significant numbers of SUI mesh injured.
I mean, the whole health system needs an overhaul. I mean, these surgeon groups and, Royal College of I mean, they're nothing but cartels. And for those of you that don't know what a cartel is, it's a collective interest group. They just lobbying for their own means. And they're protective of, what's going on. I mean, look, the real issue here is about red flags on products that pop up and say, hang on, there's something not right here. I mean, that's an issue. There's got to be better reporting. It's got to be available to the public. But moreover, in this situation, I mean, I can't understand what happened to the first steps. Whatever happened to first do no harm? And let's give these ladies a bit of advice. Maybe they could have, had an exercise program that might have been able to help them. I mean, who knows? Were any of those non-invasive measures ever discussed? It doesn't sound like they were in a lot of instances from what I'm hearing. So, I mean, there's a real gap in medicine. It goes back to what people like Professor Ian Brightope is saying, that there needs to be a balance. And that balance is tipped horribly one way.
I can say with the mesh settlement team that we have now, a lot of people, obviously we were awarded a mesh settlement team. Originally we were with Shine Lawyers, didn't win the disbursements of this class action. But there's a catch with that one. The 2 women who worked for Shine and ran our case over all of those years won the settlement in September 2022. They both resigned from Shine Lawyers in December 2022. They then registered their own business in January 2023. And by September 2023, they had been chosen as a part of a team of 3 to run our disbursements. So the 2 ladies that were initially running our case through Shine have now got it back and are running our disbursements as well.
Making a profit on that too.
Yeah, and we were horrified and very traumatised by Shine Lawyers. At first, they seemed to be great. But unfortunately, then it slacked off. We never really got information. Our information that we've sent through never seemed to get anywhere. What they claimed they were going to do, they didn't. We never heard from them. Pretty appalling. Obviously, it ran for significant years. And for many of our women, it is actually really traumatizing to know that the same two women that ran it then are part of running it now. It's pretty horrific to know that, because now we feel like there's more delays. 4,000 by Christmas? No. How long is that going to be delayed for my women? You know what? We've got women passing away, women in an economic crisis that would really need that money. They can't work. Many of our women have tried, that are injured, severely injured, have tried to get on NDIS and they've been rejected. We have very few, but some that are on NDIS. But for the ones that aren't, they can't work. They're in too much crippling pain. They can't get NDIS. They're on a disability pension or an age pension. They deserve so much more. They're in, yeah.
I just want to give Trish an opportunity to say something because she hasn't spoken much. Trish, is there anything you'd like to add? We've got to go soon. I want to give you an opportunity to share what's on your heart.
We've got to do better, Australia. We've got to look after our women. We've got to stop somehow from this happening to any other woman. If I ever do receive any compensation, I would give every cent of it back to them, just to go back and change the decisions that were made for me in 2008. Yeah, it's hard to put it all into words, but like as Tracy has said about the compensation minefield that we're going through now, the amount of medical evidence that they're requesting GP files, which I've had the same GP for 45 years.
Again.
Why do they need that file when they already have 3 specialists, over 100 documents stating what has happened to me and what has been done? But you still don't get approved for a measly $4,000 because they're sitting there waiting for a 40-year GP medical file, and 40 years is none of their business. It's an invasion of my privacy again. And these are lawyers that are reading over this file. It's not going to another medical practitioner.
They have requested ladies' full medical files, not just mesh-related injuries. Unfortunately, yeah.
You know, that's just another way of spinning it out to make more money.
They have stated that they believe that they are highly qualified to make a judgment that if a woman, through their full medical file, if a woman is suffering from an injury and it hasn't been disclosed in that medical file from a GP what it's from, they find themselves qualified enough to be able to put a judgment on whether that is a pelvic mesh injury or whether it was from one of your other comorbidities. Unfortunately, that's what happens with full medical file.
Safe and effective. We have to bring this to a close. We've been going for a while. I don't want to edit any of this out. It needs to be heard. We need to get you back on with any further developments. But I've just been really touched by your courage, both of you, and you know, I just wish I just wish, John, that we could grab these grubs who make all these decisions and give them a good shaking. I mean, yeah, the legal system has got to change. We cannot keep going like this. I mean, my wife, Michelle, was involved in an 8-year property settlement in the family court 20 years ago. 8 years it went on for. And there apparently is a statute that says when 74% of the asset pool, the combined asset pool, has been used in legal fees, then the lawyers have to settle. Well, they kept it going for 8 years until they realised that 74% of the asset pool had gone already to their fees, and then they did a settlement. And what was the settlement? The same thing that was offered by her 8 years earlier.
Yep.
It's corrupt. It stinks. And who are the lawyers? They're lawyers like Shines, who they are. They're the same players. They do the same thing. They're all in the same bed together, and it just makes you sick. There is no justice, and in Australia, there is no health. There is no health system. When people like Professor Ian Bridehope and integrative medicine groups are being slammed and having obstacles thrown at them every step of the way, when we've got 46 GPs, John, fighting for their registration survival because they're using medicinal cannabis, and we've got things like this happening, and the infected bloods and the COVID vaccine injuries, and we've got organisations like APRA and the TGA still going. We are in need of a major overhaul in this country. I don't think it'll be solved politically. I don't think it can be. I think it's so heavily entrenched. You know, people are talking about what's going on in America at the moment and draining the swamp. This goes way beyond that. The whole system is totally smashed. Totally smashed. Anyway.
We are the victims of that.
You are. And you know what? We're all potentially the victims, because what else is happening?
Yeah, absolutely.
Michelle's had 3 hernia operations, and they've had to use a mesh in that as well on a diaphragm. And I'm now wondering if that's safe.
No, there is a support group for hernia mesh injured. I've worked with many of them. There are many men and women that are suffering severe agonizing pain from hernia mesh implants as well. 100%.
Well, she's having a lot of issues with abdominal pain.
I would certainly be getting that checked out. There is, I can send you the link on that.
Please do.
In relation to the support group for hernia mesh injured Australia.
Please do. All right, Mug. You have our hearts. Our audience will be with you for sure. And this needs to be shared, everybody. If you're watching this needs to be shared. And as always, I'd like to close it with a prayer, and we'll come back for final comments. Dear Lord, Father in heaven, we pray for grace and mercy for these women who've been through what they've been through, for the people who have struggled through the infected blood scandal for the last 30 years, and to those who are now struggling with vaccine injury, who are being mocked by other Australians. I have seen the forest of the fallen being called the forest of the fake dead by other Australians. And I mean, if this is the standard of where we are as a country, we are in big trouble. So, Father, we need your grace and mercy, and these people need help. And we pray that you will soften the hearts and minds of those bureaucrats and politicians and judges who are making these decisions, so that we can have some decency in this country before it is too late. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Johnny, you've often been heard to say,
you just couldn't make this stuff up.
No. Trish, God bless you. Tracy as well. Thank you for all the work you're doing. Please keep us in the loop. Please keep us in the loop.
Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to tell this story and to raise awareness for people that may be suffering and not sure whether they're injured or not.
Thank you so much. And once again, I thank the ABC for doing that story as well. I mean, when they do good work, they need to be told.
It's people like you guys that will keep it out there.
That's it.
And don't
This
forget
can't be brushed under a carpet.
Don't forget too, guys, there's a big chance that stories like this won't be able to be told on this forum if this crazy bill goes through in the Senate. So, You need to get hold of Jackie Lambie, Lydia Thorpe, Fatima Payman, Tammy Terrell, and David Van. You need to make a point of ringing their offices, emailing them, and let them know what you think about this this bill, because I understand that a couple of the senators, including Senator David Pocock, have indicated that they're going to vote against it. So there's a very good chance that this could be defeated in the Senate if those other senators can see common sense.
Now look at these pages, our pages. There's a post from the Aligned Council of Australia. I was talking with Katie Ashby-Coppins this afternoon. There's a great video clip in there. She thinks that there's every chance we can turn this around. She also said that those senators that John just mentioned are fed up with getting all the phone calls and emails. They're over it. Keep it up. Just keep the pressure on these people. They must do the right thing. If we lose freedom of speech in this country, look, sure, there's some crazy things that get said online. And there's some horrendous hate speech. But we must be allowed to continue with freedom of speech. And if crimes are committed, they're committed. And if people, people are arranging terrorist activities and they need to be sorted out, they need to be sorted out. But we must not have legislation that prevents stories like this from being told. Because the one thing we do know for sure is mainstream media only very rarely cover on this stuff. And well, ABC did. They did a good job. But we know about all the other stuff that the mainstream media are not interested in putting out there. Anyway, if you love somebody and you haven't told them, give them a call and let them know. It's a great country because you live in it. Stay out of the trees. Thanks for supporting Club Grubbery, and continue to support these causes that we present to you, because these are our Australians and they need our help. And as Trish said, we cannot cop this Australia. We don't cop this stuff. That's not who we are. God bless you all, and thanks for watching Club Grubbery. Bye for now.